Ancient artifacts, lost civilizations, mysteries still buried beneath sand and stone. From solar observatories carved into desert ridges, to rock paintings left by hands we no longer recognize, to a fortress abandoned by every empire that held it. These ruins aren't just old, they're unexplained. While some cultures left behind writing, others left riddles, etched in stone, sealed in tombs, shaped in silence. They speak not with words, but with questions. In this journey, we uncover 7 ancient sites whose true meanings remain unknown. From forgotten cities in China, to sacred islands in Greece, to tombs, towers, and temples that defy explanation. What knowledge did these people carry, and why did it vanish? This isn't just archaeology. It's a search for truth in the fragments left behind. Welcome to Riddle Me This Mysteries. In the high desert of northern coastal Peru, 13 towers rise like fossilized ribs from the spine of a low ridge. Weathered by centuries of wind and silence, they stretch in an unbroken line, silent, symmetrical, and deliberate. For 2,000 years, no one knew what they meant. Now we know they tracked the sun. This is Chankillo, an astronomical complex built around 350 BCE by a culture with no written language, no metal tools, and no lasting empire. And yet, they constructed what UNESCO now calls the earliest known complete solar observatory in the Americas. It predates the famous Inca sites by more than 1,000 years. At the heart of Chankillo are the 13 towers, aligned along a 300-meter, 984-foot ridge. From 2 observation points, one to the east and one to the west, an ancient skywatcher could track the sunrise and sunset across the towers throughout the year. The southernmost tower marks the June solstice, the northernmost the December solstice, with each day's sun falling between a different gap. This system functioned as a solar calendar with remarkable precision, within 1 or 2 days of modern measurements. But recent studies suggest Chankillo's function went deeper than simply tracking solstices. Some researchers believe it was capable of predicting eclipses and possibly even monitoring planetary cycles. Its wide horizon and ceremonial design indicate a sophisticated awareness of celestial motion, encoded in architecture. If true, this would place its builders among the most advanced astronomers of the pre-Columbian world. Those builders were likely part of the Casma Sechin tradition, a culture known for other monumental sites like Sechin Alto and Pampa de las Llamas Moxeque. Their architecture favored massive stone constructions, but little is known of their beliefs. They left no written records, only monumental alignments, fortified temples and ruins arranged with celestial precision. Chankillo wasn't just an observatory. Its broader complex included a hilltop fort, massive walled enclosures, and possible ceremonial plazas. Inside, archaeologists uncovered offerings and elite structures, pointing to religious or state rituals. The power to mark time, predict seasons, eclipses, and the return of the sun wasn't just scientific, it was spiritual, it was political. But by around 100 CE, Chankillo was abandoned, and not peacefully. The towers and structures show signs of deliberate destruction. Walls were dismantled, buildings burned, ceremonial zones desecrated. Whether by warfare, uprising, or cultural collapse, the site was buried not just by time but by violence. For nearly 2 millennia, the towers stood ignored. Their purpose was misunderstood until the early 2000s, when Peruvian archaeologist Ivan Getzi and British researcher Clive Ruggles identified their astronomical role. Their findings reshaped how we view early Andean science. And in 2021, Chankillo was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List, securing its place as one of the most significant ancient observatories on Earth. Still, questions remain. Was Chankillo unique, or the last surviving piece of an even older astronomical tradition? Why was it destroyed? And how did its builders, without metal tools, wheels, or writing, achieve such mastery of the sky? We can model the solar alignments. We can carbon date the walls. But the worldview behind the stones, what they truly saw when they looked to the sky, remains elusive. And so from this sun-watching ridge in Peru, we descend into another desert, where ancient artists painted visions into stone, and the past speaks not through ruins, but through figures both sacred and strange. Not all art is meant to be seen. High in the plateau of Tassili, Niger, where the red sands of the Sahara kiss the Algerian sky, are figures that do not simply depict, they haunt. Painted on rock faces smoothed by wind and time, thousands of human and animal forms emerge from stone, dancing, herding, fighting, kneeling. But these aren't recent works. Some date back nearly 12,000 years to a time when the Sahara was green and this plateau was a cradle of life. First brought to global attention in the 1930s and more thoroughly documented by French explorer Henri Lotte in the 1950s, these paintings caused a sensation. Lotte called them a prehistoric Sistine chapel, and his team copied thousands of them by hand. Yet their efforts, well-intentioned, also damaged some of the art, a reminder that even in trying to preserve the past, we can still disturb it. The figures are divided by style and era. The Roundhead period, dating from around 9000 to 6000 BCE, shows large, faceless humanoids with outstretched arms, as if suspended in trance. Later images depict cattle, then horses, and finally camels, marking the shift from lush grasslands to the arid desert we know today. But what the earlier figures meant, or what rituals they depicted, remains unknown. No written language, no accompanying tools, just paint and stone, left to outlast everything else. Pigments made from ochre, hematite, and charcoal were applied with brushes or fingers. The paint has clung to the sandstone walls for millennia, thanks to a dry climate and the rock's porous texture. These weren't decorations, they were decisions, stories painted to endure. Among them is one of the most puzzling images in prehistoric art, a large, helmeted figure, often called the Great Martian God. Towering above others, with limbs arched and abstracted, it sparked speculation far outside archaeology. Some claimed alien contact. Others called it misinterpretation. But even scholars admit the Roundhead figures defy easy classification. The plateau itself is enormous, covering over 72,000 square kilometers, 27,800 square miles, and remains difficult to access. Many caves and canyons are still off limits due to preservation efforts and regional instability. What lies undiscovered, or forgotten again, is anyone's guess. Even dating these works isn't exact. No organic pigments mean no direct carbon dating. Archaeologists date them based on environmental context. The animals shown, the tools held, the climate they imply. In essence, the paintings are dated by memory of what once was. Why here? Why so many? Why so abstract, so silent? We don't know. Maybe the artists weren't painting what they saw, but what they dreamed. Maybe the figures weren't meant to resemble humans, but spirits, gods, ancestors. Or maybe they weren't meant to resemble anything at all. Maybe they were trying to hold on to something already slipping away. A green world drowning in sand. These walls do not explain, they endure. And as their pigments fade, their silence only deepens, leaving us not with answers, but with the echo of an intent we can feel, but no longer name. From pigments on stone to resins in jars, our descent continues into chambers where the dead were prepared in silence, and the craft was never meant to be seen. Not all mysteries are lost to the desert winds. Some were buried on purpose, deep, deliberate, and silent. 30 meters, about 100 feet below the sands of Saqqara, near the Pyramid of Unas, a vertical shaft was carved through limestone bedrock. For over 2,000 years, it lay untouched. But in 2018, Egyptian and German archaeologists opened it and found no tomb, no treasure, but something far stranger. At the bottom was a hidden workshop, cut into the stone during Egypt's 26th dynasty, around 600 BCE, when the Sate kings briefly revived old glories in a final golden flourish. This chamber wasn't built to honor the gods or house the dead. It was built to prepare them. This was not a place of ceremony. It was a place of procedure. Rows of shelves lined the walls, covered in ceramic jars and bowls, many inscribed in Demotic script, for the head, for the liver, to cleanse, to perfume. These were tools, not of worship, but of transformation. Here, flesh was drained, packed, washed, scented, and sealed. For the first time, archaeologists had found what texts had never described, a professional embalming complex, preserved almost intact. Modern chemical analysis confirmed what the ancients never wrote down: juniper oil for the head, beeswax to seal linen, conifer resins to mask decay. Every balm was chosen with intention, matched to its purpose, refined over centuries not by experiment, but by repetition. By 2023, residue studies in journals like Nature revealed something even more surprising. Many ingredients came from far beyond the Nile: resins from tropical Africa, bitumen from the Dead Sea, pine and cedar oils likely from the Levant. The embalming table was a chemical crossroads, and its recipes a guarded legacy. Above the shaft, archaeologists uncovered the ruins of a mud brick superstructure. Ramps, basins, and stone platforms where bodies may have been washed and prepared before descent. Nearby, tombs held over 50 mummies. One, inscribed with the name Didibaste, was buried with 6 canopic jars, not 4. A deviation from custom, a mistake, or a forgotten rite. Another burial stunned even seasoned experts. A silver and gold funerary mask, 99% pure, laid over the face of a man believed to be a high priest of Mut. Only 2 similar masks have ever been discovered in all of Egypt. This one, dazzling and serene, was made to endure. But his name is missing. Even more perplexing, in 2023, archaeologists reopened a nearby shaft, also cut into bedrock, but this time from the 30th dynasty, circa 380–343 BCE. Inside were signs of animal embalming, likely linked to ritual offerings. The presence of 2 workshops spanning centuries suggests these hidden chambers weren't anomalies. They were part of a longer secret tradition. A tradition Egypt chose not to record. For a civilization that celebrated death so openly, building pyramids, writing funerary texts, performing public rites, why hide this? Why commit embalming to memory but not to writing? Why were these most sacred acts of preserving identity, of transforming flesh into spirit, conducted in silence? Perhaps the embalmers feared the misuse of their craft. Perhaps they believed knowledge gained by hand could not be trusted to ink. Or perhaps what they did here was never meant for the living to fully understand. The workshop at Saqqara gives us the how, but it guards the why like a tomb. We leave behind the world of sacred chemistry, resins still clinging to stone, and names long stripped from bone, and we turn now to a place no scroll ever described. A vanished fortress of walls and jade, buried for millennia, where silence speaks in stone. Stone walls rise from the dust like the bones of something half-remembered. They stretch for kilometers, 2 rings of fortification once crowned with bastions and gates, guarding not a city lost to time. Shimao. Not a whisper of it survives in ancient texts. No king claimed its name. No empire recalled its fall. And yet, around 2011, archaeologists stunned the world by unearthing a city carved into the Loess Plateau, its glory reaching back to 2300 BCE, long before China's dynastic halls. At the heart of Shimao lies a massive tiered platform nearly 70 meters, about 230 feet tall, carved directly from a Loess hill, with its stone-cut terraces once inlaid with strips of jade, glinting where sunlight touched. Some specialists believe the jade was meant to spiritually protect the place. Others think it marked the boundary between earthly authority and divine power. The city sprawls for over 400 hectares, around 990 acres, larger than Central Park, and was surrounded by 2.5-meter-thick, 8-foot stone walls, ringed with watchtowers and baffled gates. Inside, archaeologists found bone needle workshops, flint pits, and evidence of large-scale jade craftsmanship, a hub of elite ritual and production. Yet it also bloodied its foundation. Under one gate near the main wall lay over 80 skulls, mostly young women, beaten, placed in pits beneath the entrance floor. Human offerings for protection, ritual sacrifice to please gods. Shimao speaks in riddles here. More recently, scientists found traces of rice residue in underground jars, a rare find in the northern Loess Plateau around 2000 BCE, where millet was the dominant grain. Was this a once-annual feast ingredient? A sacred crop carried across trade routes, or a symbol of otherworldly abundance brought to this desert fortress? Between 2300 and 1800 BCE, radiocarbon and OSL dating shows Shimao thrived, then abruptly collapsed. Climate reconstructions suggest a drier spell, while burned layers indicate violent destruction. The walls stood, its workshops silenced, the city left to patience and dust. Most unsettling of all, no stone inscription names a ruler. No text speaks of administration. No myth recalls its rituals. Shimao vanished not through conquest, but through silence. Thousands of jade carvings recovered elsewhere in northern China now link Shimao to the mysterious Hongshan culture, a jade-worshipping tradition that stretched across millennia. Those cultures spoke in symbols, serpent gods, coiled dragons, the earth's bones. But Shimao chose monumental silence, embedded in stone. We stand on its walls, ghostly in the morning sun, wondering who built this northern kingdom. What faith guided their rituals at the gates, And why was everything abandoned, not with ceremony, but in a whisper? So we leave the city of jade and skulls behind, where walls whispered and offerings bled, and turn toward a resting place no less strange, where the silence is painted, not carved. Some statues are made to be seen, others are made to be buried. In 1971, while clearing an Iron Age necropolis near Baza in southern Spain, archaeologists broke into a sealed chamber. Inside, sitting on a stone throne shaped like a winged beast, was a woman carved in limestone, cloaked in heavy robes and layered jewelry, her face painted in soft vermilion. At first, she seemed serene, but what lay inside her changed everything. She was not a statue, she was an urn. Radiographic scans confirmed the hollow space in her chest held cremated human remains. The throne, too, held a carved cavity, perhaps symbolic, perhaps intended to echo her own hollow form. Whoever she was, this woman had been honored not with a grave, but with a painted sculpture meant to house her. She was meant to endure, forever seated, forever silent. The Dama de Baza dates to around 380 BCE, during the Iberian period, when local cultures along the Mediterranean coast blended indigenous beliefs with influences from Phoenicians, Greeks, and Carthaginians. Yet she resembles no known tradition exactly. Her earrings are Phoenician in style. Her robe bears Greek folds. Her throne evokes Near Eastern motifs. She is a cultural composite, but one rooted firmly in Iberian soil. In 2021, digital imaging and pigment analysis revealed something long erased by time: her original colors. Beneath the dust, she had once blazed with Egyptian blue, cinnabar red, and copper gold highlights. Her lips were outlined, her eyes darkened, the jewelry painted, then inlaid. This wasn't decorative, it was devotional, a palette for passage into the afterlife. Baza's lady does not gaze in silence, she smolders, and the fire was real. Around the chamber, archaeologists found traces of burning. Her burial was not only sealed, it was scorched. Some believe she underwent a funerary pyre, her ashes entombed within the sculpture afterward. Others suspect ritual burning, meant to purify or empower the space. Whatever the cause, the flames left their signature, on the walls, on the floor, and perhaps in the ritual that bound her form. She is the only known sculpture of her kind. Dozens of Iberian ladies have been found, like the famous Dama de Elche, or figures from Cerro de los Santos, but none were buried in such isolation, such silence, such fire. Viewers of our earlier story may remember Elche's polished serenity, stone features that gave no answers. But the Dama de Baza offers something far more haunting. Her presence burns through time. Her purpose remains unclear. Was she a priestess, a queen, a symbolic ancestor of a lost lineage? Her chamber bore no inscriptions, no offerings, just her. And still she speaks, in pigment, in posture, in contradiction. The Dama de Baza blurs the line between person and statue, urn and icon. Her face was not meant for public worship. It was meant for entombment, unseen and unremembered. Unless the forgetting was the point. The Dama de Baza was made to burn and made to last, both at once. From the lady entombed in silence and flame, we now cross seas to a fortress no one could seem to hold, where the walls still stand, but the reason for their emptiness remains unknown. Some ruins whisper, others stand stiffly on the landscape, impossible to ignore. On the volcanic island of Ternate, in Indonesia's Maluku archipelago, rises a fort unlike any other. Built on a ridge that overlooks the sea, it should have been a prime strategic prize. But Fort Tolukko is remembered for something stranger than military glory. Its shape, obvious from the air, phallic, proud, unapologetic. Hard to get in, harder to hold, and no one stayed long. Originally believed to have been constructed by the local Sultan Tolukko in the 1600s, the truth is messier. The Portuguese likely laid the first stones in 1540, then the Spanish took over, then the Dutch, then everyone left, again and again. The fort changed hands, names, flags, yet never managed to hold its ground. Architecturally it's small, barely 50 meters, 164 feet across, but oddly elaborate. Thick walls curve outward. A central tower rises from the middle like a solitary exclamation mark. From the sky the outline is clear, too clear. Some call it coincidence, others call it commentary. And the rumors? They've never stopped. Secret tunnels running beneath the island, hidden vaults left by colonizers, naval maps that omit the fort entirely. Locals speak of the place in half jokes, half warnings. Visitors post pictures online with emojis and captions like, "Who built this and why?" But deeper questions remain unanswered. Why did no empire, despite repeated attempts, manage to hold it? Was the design flawed? Was it symbolic? Or was its message so misunderstood that it repelled power rather than invited it? Restorations in the 1990s helped preserve the walls, but didn't answer the riddle. No major battles were fought here. No heroic last stands. Just a fort that looks like it's trying to make a point and failing to keep anyone inside. Maybe that's the mystery. Not what it was for, but why it kept being left behind. Fort Tolukko still stands, silent and absurd, jutting into the sea like a question nobody wants to answer. Its shape, once meant to intimidate, now just invites smirks and shrugs. And yet, as we drift away from the fort's lonely silhouette, strange, proud, and oddly empty, we head towards something far older, where silence wasn't shaped in stone, but carved into belief. It was once the holiest place in the Aegean, an island so sacred, even birth and death were banned from touching its soil. Here, according to myth, the goddess Leto found refuge to deliver her divine twins, Apollo and Artemis, and from that moment, Delos wasn't merely a place. It became a presence, radiant, untouchable, suspended between sea and sky. By the 8th century BCE, a sanctuary had risen around this myth. Pilgrims arrived from every corner of the Greek world. Processions crossed the Cyclades in carved ships, bearing offerings for the god of light. Delos became the beating heart of Hellenic religion, and soon of politics too. In the 5th century BCE, Athens established the Delian League and chose Delos as the treasury's home. For decades, tribute flowed into the island, silver, grain, weapons, all guarded by marble lions facing east, as if forever watching for threats from the sea. And yet Delos itself remained curious in its austerity. Despite its fame and fortune, the island had no native population of its own. Laws forbade anyone from being born or buried there. The sick and pregnant were ferried away to nearby islands. Even the dead were exhumed and reburied elsewhere. Sacredness, it seemed, demanded sterility. By the 3rd and 2nd centuries BCE, Delos transformed once again into a bustling free port under Roman influence. With taxes lifted, trade exploded. Merchants from as far as Egypt, Syria, and Italy established warehouses and villas. Languages echoed off marble walls. Here stood one of the world's oldest synagogues. Altars bore inscriptions in Greek, Latin, Hebrew, and Phoenician. Delos had become something rare, not just a holy place, but a global one. But sacredness doesn't survive ambition forever. In 88 BCE, the sanctuary was torn open. Mithridates VI, king of Pontus, sent his forces to slaughter the Roman population in revenge for imperial aggression. 10,000 were killed, temples burned, statues shattered. The gods looked away. Rome retaliated, rebuilding the port, but something had broken. Earthquakes followed in the 1st century BCE. Trade routes shifted, pirates prowled the Cyclades. The marble lions still stood, but their gaze no longer protected. Slowly, Delos emptied. By the 6th century CE, the island was abandoned. Centuries passed. The sea took back the docks. Shrines collapsed under wind and time. When French archaeologists arrived in the 1870s, they found a place frozen, not in grandeur, but in absence. Mosaic floors still glittered under dust. Broken columns cast long shadows, but no one remained to pray. And even now, no single reason explains it. Delos had no Pompeii-like eruption. No single fire, no fatal plague. Just a slow forgetting. Was it punished for growing worldly, or did the gods themselves simply move on? Today, Delos is uninhabited. No one is allowed to stay overnight. Boats come and go, tourists walk its ruins, but at sunset the island is emptied again, as if Apollo still demands solitude. It was once the birthplace of light. Now it is one of the quietest places in the Aegean, an island that outlived its gods. We've walked through towers that told time, stood beneath sandstone walls where forgotten hands painted what words could not. We've descended into secret chambers of embalming, and crossed a city of jade where skulls guarded silence. We've met a noblewoman buried in fire, passed a fortress shaped like defiance, or something cruder, and wandered the sacred island the gods forgot. 7 ruins, 7 riddles, none fully answered, but mystery isn't a gap in knowledge. It's proof the story isn't over. If these echoes stirred something in you, share them. Like the moment. Subscribe to follow the next descent. And if the questions still linger, there are more stories waiting. Dive into another, Let them speak to each other. If you've ever stood in a place and felt time shift, tell us below. Until next time, only on Riddle Me This Mysteries.